Hello. See if this is working. Trying to get my microphone to work a little bit better. I'm a little bit in the dark too. Hopefully some of my people will show up. But basically, I'm going to talk about all things Murdaugh related. I don't know where to start. Normally there's people like asking me questions. There's like so much I don't know where to begin. Do 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 do. Okay, anyway, I'm just gonna I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to begin. I don't know what to do with my hands. Okay, basically, I'm going to start reading a timeline that I got off Reddit from the attorney that I referenced earlier. And I'll go ahead again because I feel like this is good. A good explanation, and I'll read it again plus the person's timeline. And just clicking back over to make sure I'm not muted because that happens. One time I was on a 10-minute stream muted. So don't want that to happen again. And I can share my screen so you can follow along. This is from an arrogant lecture from a lawyer about circumstantial evidence. I saw this. I keep seeing on live streams, different things, different comment threads about it's just circumstantial evidence. This is circumstantial evidence. And I think we're kind of, we as people not in the legal field, law enforcement, are getting confused with circumstantial evidence. Maybe we've seen, too many movies that don't accurately depict its explanation. And some of this person goes into was pretty identical to what was said by Creighton Waters on opening statements of the trial. So I'll go ahead and read on. An arrogant lecture from a lawyer about circumstantial evidence, theory and discussion. We are here for entertainment entertainment, meaning this thread. But I'm one of those weirdos who likes learning things. I'm Ugh, I don't know how long this was on mute. Thank you, Christoph Van Always. It's because my stupid microphone. I basically read this whole thing. The microphone just unhooks sometimes, but this is a whole post from Reddit from an attorney. Hey, thank you, Christoph Van Always. I really appreciate it. Now we're going to go over their timeline that they have posted. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I know it's a bummer. It just kind of unhooks sometimes. I think I'm realizing it's when I've got the microphone in a certain position. And I checked before I went on reading that it was not muted, but apparently it went and muted itself sometime in between me checking and beginning to read. Okay. I'm going to stop presenting this and start presenting my face. And let's see here. Yes, thank you for being here. Who knows how long I would have gone on and on and on and on and on. Google Drive. This person, again, has created a timeline of events. I know other people have too, but this one's here, so why not? They go on to say April of 2020 is when Paul and his friend expel a bunch of shells from Paul's replacement AR-15, trying to sight the gun near the house. Then it goes to the day of the murders, June 7th, 2021. And it kind of gives some pertinent information regarding this day. So it's pointing out the morning of the murders, Alec was confronted by the CFO, pardon me, of his law firm that there was $792,000 missing. They are quoted in testimony saying, "I have reason to think you got paid this money already. That should have come to the firm, and I need proof that you did not receive it." Then that same day, in that same conversation, Alec gets a call from his brother that his father is being placed on hospice. And according to this person, Alec leaves work, but according to Janine's testimony, Jeannie? I thought her name was Jeannie. She testifies that he was there and she was confused that he was there and still working because when she was present she was having the conversation with him, confronting him about the funds. That's when he got the call about his father being placed into hospice. Most people would be like, hey, my parent is about to pass, so I'm gonna head out and be back. Yeah, and this is just a timeline of the events of the murder. This isn't even a timeline of the Murdaugh saga in and of itself. Let me put this link here too. I think I did this before, and I need to be really good about going back and putting links in my descriptions of the videos, but I'm not that good at it. I don't remember. Okay, so Alec gets a call from his brother about his dad being placed on hospice. And then another thing to keep in mind is that his son's criminal trial for the boat crash was to begin very soon. The pre-trial for it was supposed to be in 3 days on June 10th. They were murdered on June 7th. Says there may be evidence, rumors so far that Maggie had apparently talked Paul into taking a plea deal, which Alec didn't like. I have also recently read on the comment section of the trial today, had it on my phone. Um, I can pull that up too, but for now, so we don't hear tons of clicking, I'm just going to read it. Because again, people are like, I don't understand. Nobody's making the connections on nobody, meaning the prosecution, for why he would just kill his wife and son just because of the boat crash, just because these things were going to come out. Well, on a side note, there have been plenty of people who have killed their children and spouses, unfortunately, for far less. I was having a discussion with a friend that they were like, yeah, I've watched so many, Dateline 2020 episodes where a spouse was like embezzling money and they like maybe the very next day were going to have an appointment with the bank regarding, I don't know, getting a loan on a house or something. Basically, they were about to get found out by their spouse. And the person is winds up killing their spouse. So not only do they murder someone, but they also get found out for all their financial crimes as well. So it doesn't make sense. This isn't a rational person thinking or a rational person in a rational state of mind. Christoph Van. So who is he claiming killed them? He is claiming that it has to be something related to his son's participation in the boat crash that led to the death of Mallory Beach. He even states in the interviews with police officers that evening and in later interviews with police officers that Paul was getting threats. He doesn't give specifics to what kind of threats or from whom. He just says the internet and I hear things and maybe his friends know better, which is, again, also a little bit odd because, as other people have pointed out, this family knew, so it is claimed, they knew all the ins and outs of who was what in this area and had connections. So if someone were threatening, which he did get harassed, but if there were direct threats that were to cause alarm, it's odd that they didn't know about it and take care of it. They being someone in the family. Yeah, that's what his story was. And to a lot of us who have followed this saga for quite a while, it kind of plays into, again, you have to get into this person's frame of mind, which is difficult and probably impossible, and hopefully impossible. He gets the sympathy card for a lot of things. Um, and a lot of people have claimed that he has traits of a psychopath. I'm not claiming that he is. I'm saying if you think along the lines of somebody like that, it's easier to connect the dots of, hey, this could be a distraction. This could get people to stop asking me questions about finances and possibly even get them to stop looking into the finances, which is what I believe he had thought the outcome would be, that they wouldn't even just stop questioning him, but they would stop looking into it. Like, oh, he has, far harder things in life to deal with. Let's not, even if he did do this, let's not make his life, more difficult. We love him. We know him. Just let bygones be bygones. But I believe he saw an opportunity, it seems, where it could be easily the deaths the murders could be easily explained. Like, no one would be looking at him. They would all think it was connected to the boat crash. So a way to take the heat off of him a lot more of anybody even suspecting him. Again, I know I've said this 100 times, but just in case, people haven't seen or heard, hey, Stacy, um, when myself and my husband, who heard about this not that long after it happened, our first thought was, oh, wow, someone connected to the boat crash took care of these people. Um, not my thoughts, take care of them, but their train of thought. Because if this is a family who never experiences consequences, then someone forced them to experience the consequences. Um, then from this post, a comment thread that I read tonight on one of the streams on the trial, someone again was saying, don't understand why it would be a solution for him to kill his wife and son, how that would fix the boat crash. Well, just like this attorney is saying, that Paul's pre-trial, criminal pre-trial hearing was going to occur on the 10th, just a few days after their murders were to happen. But also, and that there are rumors, not proven, that Maggie had convinced Paul to take a plea deal and that Alec was supposedly not happy about it. And the issue of him not having insurance, life insurance plans on either of them has been brought up. So again, how would he financially gain from this? Well, how would he not financially gain from keeping them alive is my question, which again ties into this comment here. Someone stated the properties they owned were all in Maggie's name, and she would not agree to sell them to get Alec out of trouble. Another person said Alec was on drugs. He backed himself into a corner. I don't really know if he was on drugs or not. I didn't believe any of that at all, but in a trailer for an upcoming documentary on Netflix where people like Connor, who was present for the boat crash, are saying that things like Paul or the housekeeper, somebody found drugs underneath Alec's bed, and like Gloria Satterfield, the housekeeper, knew too much. But this says Alex was on drugs. He backed himself in a corner by his own habit. I think maybe he sold them. I don't know if he really did them. Paul's legal issues and looming trial for the boating accident was going to drain him dry, and he was only staying afloat by embezzling from his firm. Once the law firm started investigating him and knowing Paul was at least some part of the reason for his financial problems, I don't have the rest, but it basically became an option for him to need to eliminate the problems, need to eliminate what he saw as the cause of his problems. So the Moselle property was in Alec's name. Pardon me, no, it wasn't. It was in Maggie's name. Sounds like the Edisto house, the beach house, was in Maggie's name. Hi, Stina. So if he was trying to sell these properties, he being Alec was trying to sell these properties so that he could have money to pay off, as Jeannie said, him stealing the fake Forge accounts, then he was probably just trying to pay back all the money and fix his problem, so he thought. And if Maggie was like, "No, we're not doing this. No, I'm not selling these properties to solve the problems." Perhaps she probably more than likely didn't even know the things he was doing at his law firm. But in regard to Paul, if she wanted him to take a plea deal, if she wasn't going to, I'm assuming what he wanted to do was probably sell these properties and get them out of anybody's names, so that if there were any settlement from the boat crash, that um, the Beaches family and whomever else was suing him could not have any of these, any of the funds of them. Sorry, I'm a little tired. If she was unwilling to do that, then I could see where he would think that was a problem. He was trying to sell, and I remember this, I believe it was before Paul and Maggie were murdered. Pardon me. There was a boat, not the boat, but a boat that Alec was trying to sell and not have on the book, so to speak, for he didn't want it. He wanted to have the cash and not have the assets from that boat be where any of the lawsuits like the Beach family would know about it. You wanted to keep the finances from it, basically. If you have a boat, that's an asset. If you sell a boat and have the cash, and I don't know where the cash went, then you kind of don't have an asset. So he was trying to sell that and hide the funds from that. I remember that being online. What if she had threatened a divorce? That's a monetary gain right there if she isn't around to divorce him. Very true. I remember hearing on the Murdaugh murder podcast. It's such a mouthful. Mouthful? It's a mouthful. There are rumors, and I haven't seen proof anywhere. I would think if this did happen, it's going to come out in trial, and I suspect they're saving it, keeping it in their back pocket. But it is rumored that on the night of the murders, again, this is rumored, not proven, that Maggie texted a friend or a family member, a sibling, that Alec was up to something. He told her that to meet him out at the property. She didn't really want to go. I think the friend or family members rumored to have told her not to go out there, and she went anyway. Because again, it's rumored that she was primarily staying in Ediso, at the Ediso property, and that they were rumored to be headed toward divorce. I think if there were proof of any of that, which I'm surprised there's not proof, because Mandy doesn't tend to report on things unless she has proof. But I would think if there were proof of that it would already be known to the defense, and something regarding that would have been mentioned in opening statements. I don't think so. I know that's a theory. Maybe he meant for it to be a murder-suicide, but couldn't go through with it himself. I think he's way too arrogant for that. If you think about his alleged drug use, if you think about the connections to Cousin Eddie, which I guess technically is not his cousin, it's just what people in the town call this dude. then, and if you think of Alec calling Eddie in September, telling him, I need you to come help me, meet me on the side of the road. When Eddie shows up, Alec's like, I need you to kill me. Eddie's like, no. There was a struggle over the gun. Gun allegedly went off. He gets life flighted to Savannah, but his 911 call, Alec's 911 call, was that I was on the side of the road, had a flat tire, which has been proven. He had, like, I think Michelin tires that don't, what is the word called? They don't, even if he were to get a nail or something like that, they don't go flat. So it debunked his testimony in that. He said he was changing a tire and that someone came out and from the woods and tried to shoot him. I think he was trying. I don't think he wanted Eddie to kill him at all. He's claiming that he wanted Eddie to kill him so his surviving son, Buster, could have the life insurance. I call bullshit. I believe he was trying to set Eddie up to have another person who could be suspected of being responsible for killing Paul and Maggie. I think if Alec were suicidal, which I don't believe he has been, then he had more than enough time and opportunity to do something. I don't think the dude is, that's not the right word. I don't think he sees that as a way out of his problems. I think he believes he can talk, convince, and intimidate people out of his problems. And I believe part of that was causing a diversion by murdering Paul and Maggie. And also, and I think he had to kill Maggie as well, because even though he may be able to convince other people he's innocent, I don't think you can convince your spouse. I think your spouse is gonna know. I mean, I think his brothers know, but whatever. They're from that breed of people who just cover and cover and cover and cover no matter what. Even if they had seen him pull the trigger, they would still be having his back by claiming he didn't do it. But I think Alex saw all of these opportunities, so to speak, arise to solve multiple problems at once, and had probably thought for a long time on the many reasons he could say this happened. Like, oh, it had to be somebody from the boat crash. Oh, it's my drug problem. Because he went to rehab, right? Not that long after the roadside incident where he was shot in the head, supposedly. Because Eddie claims he did not. There was a struggle over the gun, but he didn't. He didn't participate in shooting him. He was actually trying to get the gun away, and I kind of believe it. If you see interviews of this guy, I believe it. I believe he was just as shocked for the reason he was called out there. He was lured out there, in my opinion, and set up. Because who's going to believe a drug addict, right? So if there were ever any drugs on the property, or again, there have been allegations that Alec has been loosely connected to drug trafficking, even from back in the 80s. So those are all really good excuses, really good red herrings for If I kill them, even if people suspect, could have been someone in the drug world, could have been cousin Eddie. Again, he's a deadbeat drug addict. Who's really gonna believe his story over mine? I'm an attorney. But did you catch today, um, when Ronnie Crosby, an attorney at the law firm where Alec, worked, where he was asked, "Do you" something to the effect of, "Do you think Alec is intelligent or a good attorney?" Sorry, keep thinking I'm seeing the reflection of the light, um, from my computer in the window. I keep thinking it's a light from a vehicle. It's not. But he was basically asked, "Do you think that Alec is smart?" And he basically was like, I think he's really good at reading people." And he didn't say manipulating the situation. He said something a little bit kinder, but basically, that's what he meant. Okay, yeah, going back to the timeline too. So it says around 5 p.m., Alec and Paul drive around the Moselle property for over an hour, according to Alec. 7:39, Paul shot Snapchat video and uploaded it to his friend at 7:56. And then it has a link to that Snapchat video. I put the link to this timeline in somewhere way up here. I can put it in again. But this is from the 99% retired attorney that's on Reddit, just kind of putting things together. So then at 8:09, Alec's phone goes to sleep and logs no steps or activity between 8:09 and 9:02. Alec was definitely at the house when this inactive period started. Strong indication the phone was at the house, where Alec told the police he was napping while Paul and Maggie went to the kennels. 8:15, Maggie arrives at the Moselle property. 8:17, Maggie's phone unplugged and it took 38 steps, probably from her unplugging from the car and going into the house. 8:17 to 8:33, they eat dinner, and it claims that the stomach contents apparently match for this level of digestion. I don't like this physical specific stuff. I'm more interested in psychology. The whole gruesome details really disturb me. 8:31:47, group text received by Maggie and Alec about visiting Alec's dad, and Alec didn't read it until the next day. Maggie read it within 20 minutes. This person goes on to say it's odd that Alec didn't read this after he, quote, woke up from his nap, end quote, since it was about his father who was gravely ill and died 3 days later. It's a good point. 8:30 to 8:33, 43 steps taken by Maggie, likely going to her car ATV and headed to the kennels. And this is the alibi for Alec taking a nap. I was muted for quite a while earlier, so I'm going to keep going, pausing for a little bit and going back to make sure my phone hasn't unhooked. I mean, my microphone hasn't unhooked. Lost my place. 8:32, incoming call from Robert Boyle, rejected by Paul. 8:33, Paul's phone moves toward the dog kennels. 8:40, outgoing call from Paul to Rogan Gibson, answered by Rogan. 4 minutes and 14 seconds long. 8:44:34, Paul's last outgoing call ever. It was a FaceTime call with Rogan that lagged, which he said in that testimony that there wasn't the greatest signal out at Moselle. So FaceTime calls, although they would connect, they wouldn't, they'd sit there and buffer. So it was only 11 seconds. 8:44:45, FaceTime call ends. Last time Rogan heard from Paul, Rogan testified. He told Paul, since his FaceTime was lagging and he couldn't see the dog, to take and send a video of the dog's tail. This is, and again, Rogan's dog was kenneled there, staying the weekend at Paul's property, Alec's property, whatever. Maggie's, technically. Yeah. So he told him to send a video of the dog's tail. This is a video where Alec is heard washing down the kennels in the background and calling for Bubba, who had apparently killed a chicken. Link to the video. 8:44:49, camera on Paul's phone was turned to be utilized by an application. This is the taking of the video. Then at 8:45:47, it's taking of the dog video. The camera turned off after completing 58-second long video of the kennel. The dog, the phone was located next to the red roof building on the property. Rogan verified the video appeared to represent the dog kennels on the Murdaugh property. Then there were texts between Paul and says his girlfriend. I don't know. 8:49:01. Paul's phone locks forever. It only had 2% battery left, but lasted for another hour and a half before the battery died. 8:49:20. Maggie's display on. Maggie reads group text from John. 8:49:26. Her phone is unlocked. She reads another text in group chat from Lynn. I'm in court all week. Then 8:49:31. Maggie's phone locks forever. Paul receives text from friend that goes unread and unanswered at 8:49:35. Then at 8:53:08, Maggie's display comes on but is not unlocked. Phone being moved, picked up. 8:53:12. Paul's phone still locked but shows orientation change to portrait. Phone being moved, picked up. I think that's when, the whole phone falling out of his pocket because he was trying to check his pulse comes into play from Alec's testimony. Oh, that's interesting. I don't remember hearing that in trial. At 8:53:20, Siri activated on Maggie's phone, possibly hitting side button. So before that and after Paul's phone orientation changes, Maggie's phone records 59 steps, last steps until it was found the next day. This is likely the killer walking Maggie's phone to a vehicle. So then Siri was activated right after that. And then within that same minute, her phone went to sleep. 8:54, Maggie's phone comes back on and camera on for 2 seconds, does not unlock, which that's interesting. I don't know how that happens. I find it interesting that our phones can even know when our camera is just turned on. We don't even have to take a picture. That's kind of creepy. 8:54:40, Maggie's phone experienced orientation change to landscape. Phone put down. 8:54, Maggie's phone experienced orientation change to portrait. And that same minute, Maggie's cam tries to recognize face to unlock, but does not unlock. So somebody had the phone, but it wasn't her. Then orientation change on Maggie's phone shows to be held by a person. 9:02, Alec's phone activity picks up through 9:06 and records 283 steps. Car was started at 9:06. 9:03, display off on Maggie's phone. 9:04, Alex calls Maggie's phone that goes unanswered, and then Alec's phone calls Randolph's, his brother, and that goes unanswered. Then at 9:05, Maggie's screen comes on. Does that mean it's unlocked? I'm confused at that one. It's not too much longer. Then at 9:06:12 and 9:06:20, Maggie's phone changes to portrait, meaning it was picked up 2 seconds before it receives a call from Alec. At same time, Alec's phone calls Maggie's phone again, and it goes unanswered. He gets an SUV vehicle and then texts Maggie, He's going to visit mom, never read again. An asterisk, a big point is that this is the last time that Maggie's phone experiences an orientation change. The defense argues this represents when her phone was thrown in the ditch, and therefore Alex couldn't be the one who threw it because he was just starting his car at the same time. The state argues that this was just Alec picking up Maggie's phone as he called it to make sure the call came through for his alibi, that he had no idea she was deceased at the time. State's phone expert says that if a phone is thrown frisbee style out a window, it will likely not show an orientation change light up unless it lands on its side. Yeah, you can try this. Okay. My thing is, if Maggie's phone was turned on or a phone call came in and it was in, let's say it was in Alex's vehicle, is there not a way with all the other, the phone can detect if the camera's turned on, but not a photograph taken? Um, is there not a way that his car can recognize if Maggie's phone was there, if Maggie's phone can recognize that it was in his car? Um, and then let's say he drove her phone and threw it out of the window. Would her phone not ever connect to his vehicle, or at least attempt to? I know if I've been in my husband's truck, even if I don't regularly connect it, which I think I tried not to because typically we're in the vehicle at the same time and it's his phone he wants to connect, but it still like shows up. It still tries to connect. I would think there would be some data somewhere on his vehicle that her phone tried to connect with it. But I guess either that's not possible or it didn't happen because no one has brought it up. 9:06, Alex's car starts. From 9:06 to 9:20, he drives to his mom's place and I'll meet up, make several calls to several people. Then there's a text received on Maggie's phone. Then 9:31, Maggie's phone screen comes on to show notification for a text. Not clear who this text was from. 9:44, Alex leaves his mom's place. So when did he arrive? I know it says he left at 9:06 to 9:20. So did he arrive at the house at 9:20? Because that would make more sense and kind of go along with what the caretaker said, that he was only there for about 20 minutes. 9:47, text from Alec saying, call me. And then Alec returned to the Moselle property at 10:01. 10:21, Alec calls Paul's friend whose puppy was being boarded at the kennels. That's kind of funny because why would your first, okay, so he calls 911, then at 10:21 he calls Rogan, the one whose dog was there. I would be calling family members. I'd be calling my siblings. I'd be calling my other child. I wouldn't be thinking of calling the person, my kid's friend whose dog is there. To me, that kind of supports that Alec probably knew there was something on Paul's phone that put him at the kennels or recorded or something. Hi. To me, again, I'm going over a timeline on a Reddit post that an attorney unrelated to the case just kind of put up a timeline of the night of the murders. So I'm at this point where it said that where I lost it. Oh, at 10:21, Alec calls Paul's friend Rogan, whose puppy Cash was boarded at the kennels. Awesome. My microphone unplugged again, as it often does. I don't know how much was caught there, but basically, I'm saying that Rogan would be the last person I would think to call after finding my spouse and child dead. I wouldn't be thinking of calling the kid whose dog is there.
Motion at your Ring Video doorbell.
There's motion at my Ring Video doorbell. I would not be thinking about that at all whatsoever. Me. Dang it, sorry. To me, kind of indicates that Alec saw something on Paul's phone, or Alec remembered that Paul was trying to FaceTime Rogan earlier in the day. And perhaps was trying to get whatever information he could off. Maybe trying to see what Rogan knew. Let's see. Going to stop sharing that, but again, I have it in my not my timeline, in the chat. I know I say this every time, but I may very well, I want to, hopefully it'll be very soon, kind of do a little bit of like an encyclopedia of people that are being discussed, like who's Corey Fleming, who is Russell Lafitte. I know you've heard me say a lot of times that it's Jeannie's brother-in-law, Jeannie, the CFO that has testified, the CFO for now Parker Law Group, then PMPED, where Alec worked. And by the way, pretty much all the same attorneys still work there minus Alec, meaning Randolph Murdaugh is still part of that law firm as well. Let me see if I can pull it up. I will show you. I was trying to find Ronnie Crosby's picture today to see if I could match it up, and this stuff popped up. It kind of gave me a jump scare. Whose face? Look at that guy. Great attorneys have track records that speak for themselves. Do they? Do they? Do they? And I believe meet the attorneys. Let's click. There he is right there. That's Ronnie Crosby right beside good old Randolph right there. They are pursuers of justice. That's who they are. Oh, Austin Crosby. I wonder if I'm assuming he's probably related to Ronnie. They're not in alphabetical order then, because wouldn't Ronnie be right there? Okay. I'm so mean. Her first name is League. That's interesting. That's kind of a cool first name. Where are we at? Randolph Randy Murdaugh. Let's read a little bit more about him. He's been practicing law, handling injury and death cases for 30 years throughout the state of South Carolina. He has tried or settled many large injury and death cases and is hired by attorneys across the Southeast, including South Carolina, to successfully handle cases in South Carolina. Randy handles large trucking cases, railroad cases, products liability cases, as well as automobile wreck cases. Randy's consistent success is due in part to his straightforward, honest approach with a personal touch on each client. That is bizarre. That's a bizarre way to word things. Randy was born in Hampton, where he attended the public schools. The public schools? Didn't just any of them? Where he attended the public schools before attending undergrad and law school at the University of South Carolina, where Buster was kicked out for cheating. Randy lives in Hampton and is married to his wife, Christy, with whom he has 2 daughters that attend the University of South Carolina. Randy has been involved in what is he involved in? Or headed many local community projects and organizations. Randy enjoys time with his family, all of them, and friends, enjoys hunting and fishing and almost everything outdoors. Like helping people cover what? I don't want to get sued. Help people cover ass, that's all. So, Stephen Smith. Although what? Although this won't come up in this trial because it's not a trial regarding Stephen Smith's death, but Stephen Smith's death has been opened up for reinvestigation. It has been rumored that while the Moselle property was searched due to Paul and Maggie's deaths, that evidence regarding and related to Stephen Smith's death was found on the property during this time. So that's why his death has been reinvestigated. And Stephen Smith was a nursing student who was found deceased off a old, country road. And The coroner claimed that it was a hit and run, although there was no evidence to a hit and run. There were rumors that tied Buster Murdaugh to his death, but that has not been proven. And which would be a really good indicator for why Buster is seemingly so supportive of his dad, even with all the evidence stacked against his dad, why he's sitting behind him. Because, hey, if your dad knows what you're capable of, who are you to say nay, nay on killing my mom and brother? But, yeah, his death was tied to Buster by rumors only. I was trying to pull that up. Don't make me pay for something I don't want to. Where is it? I just had this up. Where did it go? I had an article regarding Stephen Smith. Huh. What? This article from Bluffton today. Bluffton is the area where these people are. Says the latest rumor, which began circulating on social media pages and chat rooms on Thursday, August 5th, claimed that several vehicles were found buried on Alec and Murdaugh Maggie's 1,700-acre Moselle property in Islandton. Among those mysteriously buried vehicles that rumors suggested was a vehicle tied to the 2015 homicide of Stephen Smith in Hampton County and a vehicle that had been buried there since the 1970s. Oh my God. On Friday, August 6th, SLED spokesperson Tommy Crosby, there's a lot of Crosbys around there, huh? Released the following statement to the media. The rumor referencing vehicles being unearthed on property owned by the Murdaughs is unfounded. SLED has inquired, of course they have, with local Low Country law enforcement and has found no credibility to the rumors currently circulating online. What? Again, I had heard Mandy talk about that there was evidence that was found on the Moselle property tied to Stephen Smith's murder, and that's why his his death has been reopened. But what? I know it just says rumors, but come on. Let me share this. Rumors of buried vehicles on the Moselle property. How have I not heard of this? That would make so much sense. This is Stephen Smith right here. For those who don't know, that's his mom. She's a sweet, sweet lady, it seems. It's hard to accurately read these and make sure that I am not having this microphone unmuted. But yeah, here it is right here. I'll read it again for the people in the back. The latest rumor, which began circulating on social media pages and chat rooms on Thursday, August 5th, claimed that several vehicles were found buried on Alec and Maggie Murdaugh's 1,700-acre Moselle property in Islandton. Among those mysteriously buried vehicles the rumors suggested was a vehicle tied to the 2015 homicide of Stephen Smith in Hampton County and a vehicle that had been buried there since the 1970s. That is extremely interesting. But don't worry, this has all been debunked by SLED and local law enforcement, so we can believe it. On Friday, August 6th, SLED spokesperson Tommy Crosby, again, interesting
Motion at your Ring video doorbell.
last name, released the following statement to the media. Didn't mean to take a picture of my screen. The rumor referencing vehicles being unearthed on property owned by the Murdaughs is unfounded. SLED has inquired with local low country law enforcement, because that's all seemed to work out pretty well, right? And has found no credibility to the rumors currently circulating online. What? What if? Oh my God. Ooh. Wow. Pardon me. I don't normally get on like Facebook crap because it's all a bunch of people arguing over nothing. But man, they didn't say Facebook. I'm just assuming. This article was released on August 16th, 2021.
Motion at your Ring video
Can you
doorbell.
shush up? Dude. This is so insane. If any of this comes out to be true, and again, Stephen Smith's death has been opened back up. I'm trying to put this dang link in, but I'm a boomer and it's too long. I'm sorry. I haven't. Wow. So, do any of you know, are you familiar with Stephen Smith, how this is tied to the Murdaughs? I don't want to keep saying things that people already are aware of. Let me stop sharing this and let me pull up this other article. I knew I had heard about the evidence tied to Stephen Smith being found on the Moselle property on Mandy Murdaugh's podcast. Oh my God, I keep calling her Mandy Murdaugh. Lord Jesus. Mandy Matney's Murdaugh Murder Podcast. But I had not seen it announced or written in an article. So I was just searching for that. As I was discussing it, sorry, again, I'm tired. It's like my bedtime, but this is a different or a better time, I think, for me to talk more directly about the whole Murdaugh saga while I'm not sitting there watching the trial and we're not having to wait for them to stop talking. We just have to wait for my ADD to not be so active. So I was looking up information where I could see that was better said, because in my experience, Mandy doesn't typically report on something unless she has evidence or a very credible source for it. So now that this trial is coming out and a lot of things are being more publicized, I thought maybe there was something I could read regarding the tied evidence. And then that article from Bluffton came up about buried vehicles on their property. Again, it's rumored, alleged, SLED and the local police say it's not true, but you know, wow. Okay. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, here's a better timeline. Also, maybe I will not let my ADHD take hold. But this is a timeline, a better timeline of like all the events. And all the players. It's from ABC 13 News. I don't see anything regarding Stephen Smith, but I can share this and read this out. This is going to give a really good overview of basically, I don't want to say everything because it doesn't talk about the jellyfish, but it talks about a lot. Am I sharing the Bluffton or the, okay, 13 News. All right. I'll try not to read all the details. I'm bad about that. In February 2006, 2018, February 26, 2018, the housekeeper, her name's Gloria Satterfield. Again, go to Gloria's Gifts. It's a nonprofit organization that her sister started because Gloria liked Christmas a lot, and Hampton County is reported to be a poor county, and funds donated to Gloria's Gifts goes to help people during Christmas time purchase gifts or provide some gifts or meals during that time in honor of Gloria Satterfield. But she fell in 2018 at the Moselle property. She suffered a subdermal hematoma. It's a very weird 911 call with that, with Maggie and Paul. My opinion, they seem very inconvenienced by the whole situation. She was airlifted to Somerville and she passed away 3 weeks later. And again, someone who testified recently was one of Gloria Satterfield's sons. So Alec told the sons, we're going to put an insurance claim regarding your mom's death because it was on the property and we're going to take care of you for the rest of your lives. Paraphrasing. He never gave them the money. And I can't remember if it was Corey Fleming or Russell Levite who was one of the ones that helped him. There's so many. There's like, was it Chad Westendorf, Chris Westendorf, Russell Levite, and Corey Fleming seem to be two of the players three that helped aid Alec in his financial crimes, and Russell Levite has been recently convicted of 6 of them. So, in 2019, February, a boat crashed into the Archers Creek Bridge in Beaufort. Let me make sure I'm not muted. I'm not muted. I'm not on the right one. Let's close this so I don't keep going back. So, a boat crashed on Archers Creek Bridge in Beaufort near Paris Island, where Marines have boot camp. Unfortunately, this crash killed 19-year-old Mallory Beach. She was found a week later. She was one of the 6 teenagers on the boat, including 19-year-old Paul Murdaugh, which is Alex Murdaugh's son, which is the son who was murdered alongside his mother, which is the son who had a pretrial criminal hearing the next week after the murders took place. Yep. So in 2019 of April, wow, it took that dang long. It took that long from February till April. April is when Paul was charged with boating under the influence in that crash that killed Mallory Beach. He was 3 times over the legal limit and underage. In May, Paul pleaded not guilty to all charges. So that doesn't really go along. Well, I guess someone was telling me today you can take a plea deal at any time, but there were comments that I read earlier from a thread on a stream that said it's rumored that Maggie had convinced Paul to take a plea deal and Alec was not happy with it. June 7th is when Paul and Maggie were murdered. What? No, that isn't right. Oh, okay. June 22nd. A Hampton County teenager was found in 2015. I don't know why it says this. Authorities at that time, no, just one authority, the coroner, said he was hit by a car and no suspect was charged. He died 6 miles from his home. There was a disagreement among investigators how he passed. SLED said on June 22nd that the investigation into Stephen Smith's death was reopened due to evidence found during the investigation into the murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. There it is, what I was looking for before. Former state trooper Todd Proctor said he was the lead state police investigator during the time of Smith's death. He told Fox News that he believes the evidence found at the scene pointed to murder. It looked like it was more staged, she is quoted in saying, like possibly the body had been placed in the roadway. It did not fit the description of what a hit and run would look like. And I believe Proctor was the person, the law enforcement officer who called the coroner and was like, why did we change this to a hit and run? I never said it looked like a hit and run. There's no evidence of that. What's going on? I'm going to mute for a second because I need to wet my whistle. And yes, I drink Dr. Pepper all the time because it's super healthy. Okay. September 3rd is when of 2021 is when Alec resigned from PMPED. Basically, he was forced, it seems. So that was September 3rd. The very next day, Alec Murdaugh calls 911 claiming he was shot in the head on the side of the road in Hampton County. Murdaugh claimed he was shot in the head while changing a tire on his Mercedes-Benz along Old, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, Hatchie Road. He was transported to the hospital in Savannah for a superficial gunshot wound to the head, which is still in question whether or not there was evidence of that superficial wound to the head. September 6th of 2021, Alex enters rehab for prescription drug use. Isn't that convenient? On the 13th of September 2021, SLED announces investigation into missing money from Murdaugh's former law firm, PMPED. On the 14th, SLED announces the arrest of Curtis Eddie Smith, cousin Smith, in connection with the shooting of Alex along the roadside. Investigators said the incident involved a botched suicide for hire plot that would have resulted in a multi-million-dollar life insurance policy payout for Murdaugh's only living son, Buster. Again, I mean, whatever. I know that's what Alec is saying. His intent of that whole situation was. I don't believe that was his intent, and that's my opinion, allegedly. It's allegedly my opinion. Who knows? It's my opinion. No proof. Just speculation. Allegedly. Murdaugh had initially claimed he was shot by an unknown assailant while changing a flat tire, and that is per his 911 call, folks, but later turned himself in on insurance fraud, conspiracy, and false statement to police charges. Because, tires that are made to not go flat don't lie. Smith was arrested on drug charges along with counts of assault and battery of high aggravated nature, pointing and presenting, blah, 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 blah. He later told us he was set up by the embattled attorney, believe that, and that the firearm was accidentally discharged while Smith tried to take the gun away. I believe that as well, because if no one was buying the boat accident as a motive for Paula Maggie's deaths, that someone revenge for the boat accident, well, then we can blame Cousin Eddie because he's a crazed drug maniac. So on September 15th of 2021, sons of former housekeeper Gloria Satterfield, remember, she was the first person, February of 2018. Yep. This beautiful lady right here, former housekeeper that fell down the steps. The sons of former housekeeper filed a lawsuit against Alec Murdaugh, Corey Fleming, and others, accusing them of stealing their settlement money from their mom's death. The sons hired Corey Fleming, Murdaugh's former college roommate, as their attorney in the wrongful death lawsuit. They claim Fleming never told them a settlement was reached in the case and that they found out from a newspaper article. Fleming was later indicted on 18 new criminal charges, including money laundering, computer crimes, criminal conspiracy, false statement, or misrepresentation in connection with an insurance transaction, and breach of trust. So basically, people, if you have any kind of lawsuit, make sure after you win, if you do, that your attorney's not taking your fucking money. Okay. And September 16th of 2021, Alec turns himself in for the role he played in the shooting scheme on September 4th. So we can believe everything he says, right? We can believe that he definitely has been on drugs and yada yada. On October 14, 2021, Alec was arrested at a Florida rehab facility in connection to stealing from the estate of Gloria Satterfield's, and SLED confirmed they were reopening Gloria Satterfield's death. I didn't know that. I knew they had reopened Stephen Smith's, and don't get me wrong, Gloria Satterfield's death seems sketch as a mofo. However, I didn't know they reopened her case as well. Again, this is a huge giant spider web that never, ever stops. Have I been watching the trial on Rakita Law? I have not. I have difficulty watching attorneys. I'm familiar with Rakita Law and Emily D. Baker. Although I have commented or commentated during the trial and live stream myself, I have difficulty watching them because I get really distracted. I like to really hear what people are saying, and I do make comments myself. I try to make sure it is not when people are talking. That doesn't mean that, Rakita Law or Emily D. Baker are doing anything wrong. It just, I can't watch it. I get too distracted and I want to hear what they have to say. But I do like hearing. Sometimes I watch Emily D. Baker like afterward. I haven't watched Rakita specific to this trial. Are you watching him? Maybe I should, because I do like hearing people who are actually intelligent and know what they're talking about talk about the legal aspect of this. So, July 14th, a grand jury indicted Alec on the 2 murder charges. So, again, he was arrested for the connection to stealing from Gloria Satterfield's estate in October of 2021. And there were a lot of rumors and speculation this past September. Yes? No. June. The anniversary of Paul and Maggie's death, that he would be charged with their murders then. He wasn't. He was still incarcerated, has not been out on bond this entire time. And then he was charged while incarcerated regarding, looks like, the more than 80 charges of theft of millions of dollars and otherwise. That's when he was charged with Paul and Maggie's deaths in this past July of 2022. No, it wasn't. Was it? I thought it was later because that's the anniversary. I didn't think it was the same month. Maybe it was a few weeks later. Maybe they thought it was going to be on the day or very close to the actual date of their deaths, but I think it was a few weeks later. July 20th, 2022, a bond hearing is scheduled for Alec. And so on and so forth. So that kind of gives an overview. It's not everything in detail. I'm surprised it doesn't mention Russell Lafitte in any of this, but I guess it's just related to, well, Russell Lafitte would be related to Alec. They probably lumped it in there with all of his financial crime charges. But where did it go? 2021. That's when it was. In June. June 22nd is when Stephen Smith's death was reopened, because it says right here that evidence was found during the investigation into the murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. Very, very, very interesting. Yeah, no, they're all very good, I think. I used to watch Uncivil Law a lot too. I couldn't get past some of the stuff he said regarding some other things that happened in 2020. Won't open that Pandora's box, but there are a lot of attorneys that I like to watch regarding cases I'm familiar with. 2021, gotcha. This is all insane, and I don't know at what point you started following this whole saga, but I believe it was right before or right after Paul and Maggie's deaths that I started listening to the Murdaugh Murder podcast. And I know people have different feelings about that, but continuing to see them on the news around here, I was like, who are these people? Other than the obvious, what is the big deal? And it was like every dang week was a freaking soap opera. Yeah, do you? Nice. I started watching Emily D. Baker and Uncivil Law a few years ago due to stupid YouTube internet drama. YouTube creators that I had watched previously and got into a whole rabbit hole of you don't really want to know unless you already know, and then bleh. But most of the people I interact with so far online have been we've met each other that way. But I didn't wanna start talking about this before. I was trying to get a lot of my online friends, Nikki, if you're listening, to talk about this. I just wanted to talk to anybody about this. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening." But, no one was really talking about it, and, when the trial just started, I was like, "Shoot, never mind." I'm just yeah. Yeah, you kept hearing about them? Yeah, I wasn't sure. Had no idea. Just kept hearing, like, family dynasty, um, but again, I'm not sure where you're from and not necessarily asking you, but I live in South Carolina. I live up in the upstate and, yeah, kept hearing somewhat familiar names, um, and I just wanted to know, especially when I heard people like our governor, our state representatives being some people's attorneys. When the Bowen Turner situation happened, and Mandy covered that as well, hearing another of our state representatives, represent and everyone deserves to be, have legal counsel. You're from California? Nice. I have some online friends from there too. Um, just knowing the culture of the state, I didn't grow up in the state, I did grow up in the South. But it is a different culture here, and, kind of hearing the podcast and going, "Yeah, that behavior seems like it adds up. I wanna know what politicians are connected to what, so I don't vote for them. Oh, this person is" um, again, everyone deserves to be represented, but I think when attorneys are publicly shaming the alleged victims, especially when the alleged victims have taken their lives because of the scrutiny that they're under from the town for even accusing someone of assault or otherwise, and this is in reference to Bowen Turner. I kinda I don't wanna say it piques my interest, that's the wrong terminology, but it definitely has alarm bells going off. It's something I definitely wanna know about and am interested in how people represent not who they represent, but how they represent them, if that makes sense. Because everyone is and deserves to be innocent until proven guilty, absolutely. Even as much as I don't like to say it, even Alec Murdaugh himself, even though I think he's guilty. But even even Alec's defense team isn't out here necessarily, maybe minus Harpootlian, out here just bashing the victims, even during their, cross examinations of, like, Gloria Satterfield's son in the past days. Yeah, they weren't smearing people. I think if you're good at being an attorney, you don't always have to go for the low blows. You can appreciate that someone is a victim or a potential victim and handle that very gingerly so. Bowen Turner's attorney, Hutto, didn't really carry himself in that manner, didn't really represent his, client in that manner or represent the alleged victim in that manner. Alec did him so dirty. Did the jury see the kid's testimony? Are you referring to Gloria Satterfield's son? One of the sons? Because if so, yes. And I believe, um, that was today. I'm getting mixed up on my people. One of them, I don't believe will ever testify because he is intellectually disabled. Oh, are you talking about Alec's kids? His surviving son? Sorry, I'm not sure who you're referring to. Um, and I am getting a little bit tired. Again, it's like 10 here. It's a little past my bedtime for having small children, needing to get up with them in the morning to go to school. Yeah, Gloria Satterfield's one of his sons testified. One of her sons testified, forgive me. Let me see if I can pull up the name real quick. Let me stop sharing this as well. I can only type. I really need an encyclopedia of people's names. Tony. He testified. That's one of Gloria Satterfield's sons. And it was, again, in reference to not so much because that's not what he's on trial for, even though her death has been reopened. I just kind of found out, found out it was in regard to the settlement money from his mom's case. And the prosecutor asking Tony, did you give Alec permission to steal your money? Good night. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And the boy saying no. Boy, he's man now. But he basically said he kept asking Alec about his settlement money. Alec saying they had not yet received it, and that Tony learned from a news article that the settlement was won, even though Alec kept telling him, "We do not have any money." And I believe he testified. I know he testified when the jury wasn't present, when the judge was determining. I believe they did get the money, Mason. There, let me see if I can pull this up too. I'm fairly certain that they have, at least not all of Alec's alleged financial victims, but I believe the Satterfield children have received their settlement money. Let's see. There was, I can't type and talk at the same time. There was, what do you call it? I think this was back last summer where Gloria's sister announced the Gloria's Gifts Foundation. Here we go. I found it 7 months ago. I'll put the link for this in my chat. Hold on just one moment. Can I share this? I'll put a link for this here. I believe this is according to the Island Packet. Yes. Low country, news, we'll call it that, where, again, Gloria's sister announces Gloria's gifts. Apparently, Gloria really liked, Christmas, and in Hampton County, where they're from, a lot of people can't afford, oh, this is just a 45-second clip. I know the whole full-length thing was somewhere. Maybe it was even on the Murdaugh Murder podcast. I apologize. I thought that was a full-length, video. But in this press conference, I guess, so to speak, announcing the foundation where they honor Gloria's memory by helping people specific to Hampton County purchase Christmas gifts and meals during Christmas time, they also announced that, they had received the funds from the settlement. Let me see. Yeah, and if you're not familiar with the Murdaugh Murder podcast, I just assume everybody is. But I can't find the full-length video. But that's a really good resource to follow this story. He has definitely done some and been accused of doing some horrific things. Can you imagine going through one of the worst experiences of your life, being in some sort of accident or losing a family member or losing the ability to take care of yourself? Have this man say, "I'm going to come in and represent you. You'll," he has been quoted as saying, "You'll never have to work a day in your life. You'll be taken care of for the rest of your life." Um, and then having him refer you to attorneys that will help take care of funds that you receive from your settlement, because either you're a minor or, there are ways where you don't get as many tax penalties. So, hey, I'm an attorney. I'm going to help advise you on how to get the most out of your settlement. He refers attorneys to you who will take care of you, never discloses that he knows them personally or went to college with them. Um, Either attorneys like Corey Fleming or like the CEO, CFO of a bank, Palmetto State Bank, Russell Lafitte, Chris Westendorf, Chad Westendorf, can't remember his first name. One was the CEO of Palmetto State Bank, one was the CFO of Palmetto State Bank. Have them be conservator over your money. Find out you either never got it and they sold the entire thing, or they gave you like a very small percentage of, what you won. Say they won millions and you got 50 grand. Or like in Haley Plyler's case, had the conservator Russell Lafitte, who Alec referred her to, she was a minor, had lost her mom and brother in a car accident. She and her sister um, relied on the settlement to live. They were in high school, middle school, couldn't take care of themselves, and would have to beg their conservator for grocery money or feminine products. And he would at times tell them, no, the judge said no, or the funds aren't there, whatever BS. I can't remember the specifics, but he has been found guilty of all of this hasn't been sentenced yet, but has been found guilty this past November. So you've lost your mom, you've lost your brother, you don't have any money, you're being evicted from your home. To find out this man was behind taking advantage of you in your absolute worst moments in life. Talk about kick you while you're down. He seems to have preyed on the most vulnerable people, either because they're seemingly intellectual deficit, if you can call it that, or just because they're pure trust in him. I mean, look at all of his friends and family that they are just blindsided by Alex's behavior. His stealing money from clients, looking them dead in the face saying, "Oh, that money's in this account," and it's not, or, "Oh, we never received this money," and turns out, yeah, and it went directly to you. Living in the state, knowing these types of people is and following this for quite a while is why I'm so invested, and I'm so glad that people are discussing it. Mandy Matney had a tweet today talking about how people are so glad this behavior, not just specifically the Murdaugh family, but this kind of corrupt behavior in South Carolina, how they're very, very glad that it's being exposed. Because a lot of people were afraid to speak out, and rightfully so. Let's see if I can pull up that. Again, there's gonna be, I believe it's the 20 and the 20s, 22nd, pardon me, 23rd of February. There's a Netflix documentary regarding all of this, and I haven't watched a lot of documentaries regarding this, but it has, like, Connor, who is one of Paul's friends, who is the boyfriend of Mallory Beach, who passed in the boat crash. It has a lot of people who knew and had relationships with these people discussing, the ins and outs of their family dynamic and their influence, and how you don't go against a Murdaugh, and they can take care of people if they need to, saying things like that. So, let me see. She has a lot of tweets. They said it so perfectly. And I'm probably going to be on here for maybe like 5 more minutes, and then I need to head for bed, and I can talk about this pretty much all day, every day. Let's see here. Here we go. Mandy has retweeted somebody. I can share my screen here. So you can follow along what I'm reading. But it says right here, Maria Bates, a picture of South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson, prosecution laughing and chatting it up with John Marvin Murdaugh, brother of defendant, during a trial break, says all we need to know about this family's power, privilege, and our 2 systems of justice. Disgusting. And Mandy retweeted them saying, it's about optics. So many people are interested in this case because they are tired of corruption. They're tired of the good old boys club. They're tired of 2 systems of justice. And our attorney general, who never held a single press conference on this case, should realize that. Someone also said optics are very important for public confidence in the judicial system. Too many people think everything is already fixed, and photos like this don't help. Yeah. Um, very, very interesting. Um, again, I've stated before for people coming in, and again, Mason, thank you for being here. Scott, thank you for being here, and whomever else is still watching. But I live in South Carolina, have lived here for 20 something years, grew up in the South. This is a different culture of South. I'm kind of saying this because I say the same thing over and over again. But it's a different culture of South than I'm used to. And it's just seems to be heavily influenced by people protecting each other. In a way that doesn't seem to always be in the public's best interest, and anybody that's not in that club, not that anybody really wants to, but as I've said before, it seems like many of these people could literally witness someone murdering someone else, and they would straight up just, deny it and cover for them, and make the victims out to be crazy. I guess it's not just that they would deny it, but it's kind of what you were referring to before, um, taking kicking a victim while they're down, doing something to somebody and then pointing the finger, "Look at the crazy person," and having so many other people join in. "Look at the crazy person." Like, you start to feel helpless as a society, I guess maybe South Carolinian society feels like if this demographic of people, if you're ever a victim of anything that they do, you're never gonna get any help, you're never get any justice, and you're not gonna get it to stop, and potentially, you're even more of a victim for speaking out, and I think that's what a lot of people are tired of and glad that it's coming to light. So on that note, I'm gonna go to bed. Remember, don't murder your families. Thank you for joining.